Hi guys, I'm Chelsey and this is my husband Kurtis. We are photographers and travelers, and recently we took a trip to a photography gold mine, Banff, Alberta. So if you have got a love for photography like we do, and you want to know where some of these amazing locations are, then you are in the right spot. And you're going to want to stick around because we've got lots of tips on how to navigate to these places and some of the best times to see them.
Let's go. So the first thing you're gonna need to know before you go to Banff is that it's gonna be super busy and there's gonna be a ton of tourists. To be honest, there's gonna be no good way of beating all these tourists other than getting up super early and staying kind of off the beaten trail, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
So first up on the list, and a new personal favorite of ours, is Moraine Lake. This was our first time actually ever being there, and it did not disappoint at all. This water is unbelievably blue. Like, it's hard to believe that it's even real life.
One of the best vantage points that we found is taking a 2-minute hike from the parking lot onto what's called the rock pile. From where you're sitting, the sun comes up behind you, so you're not burning out your retinas or anything, and just sit there and wait for the sun to come up and light up the Valley of 10 Peaks that you're looking onto.
They call this the $20 view, and I'm assuming that's because it was on the Canadian $20 bill.
More like the $1 million view. It's pretty cheap to call Moraine Lake the $20 view.
Moraine Lake has become a super popular destination in Banff, and for some reason it has the smallest parking lot imaginable. For this trip we were actually staying by Canmore, so from where we were staying out all the way to Moraine Lake, it was about a 2-hour drive. We knew that if we were not there well before sunrise, we were not getting a parking stall, so for us that meant we were up at 4:30 in the morning, hitting the road so early. By the time that we actually got to the Moraine Lake Road, it was 5:15 in the morning, and we were one of probably 10 vehicles already in line, and the parking lot was probably already 3/4 full. Like we said, this place is totally worthwhile, but know that it doesn't have the greatest access to it and that the road closes down to Moraine Lake fast. So if you're not hitting Moraine Lake Road by 5 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna get into risky territory for sure.
And as a pro tip, make sure you start your day at Moraine Lake to get there probably an hour before sunrise. I would say if you're there anytime after that, you're risking not getting a spot. They do say that you can't camp out overnight there, but we definitely saw people camping overnight there. So there's gonna be like next to no spots at sunrise.
There is a shuttle that goes to Moraine Lake, but even that, we saw long lineups to the shuttle, and we saw that the tickets to the shuttle were already selling out early in the morning. So
next on our list is PEYTO Lake. Now, thankfully, you don't have to get up at 4:30 a.m. to see this beautiful view. In our experience, we've always gone in like the middle of the day-ish, and we've never had a problem getting a parking spot. There is a little bit of traffic that goes in and out. Thankfully, this is like more of a viewpoint for most people. For the average person that's not a photographer, you walk to the trail, go to the viewpoint, take a few selfies, turn around, and that's about it. People don't usually stick around there too much.
So that means that the cars are turning over fairly quickly. It's easier to find a parking stall than some of the places we've been to.
After finding a parking spot, make sure to find the trail that goes up to the viewpoint. You'll walk along a little trail, and all of a sudden you'll see a big, huge wooden deck. The wooden deck is the viewpoint. You'll probably find a ton of tourists in M&M color jackets. They'll be red, blue, and probably yellow. All taking selfies. And if you're there just for a quick photo, go ahead and stand on the viewpoint. You'll get some amazing photos. However, if you're like us and you want to spend a little bit more time and get those little bit of extra high quality photos, we got some tips for you. So again, if you're like us and you don't want to go to the viewpoint, you should probably go to the viewpoint just to check it out quick. But once you're done checking out the viewpoint, you'll see the big wooden deck that I was talking about. Just to the right of it, there's gonna be a bunch of little trails. Take those little trails as far as you can until you see another big rock pile. There's gonna be a fraction of the people, if not nobody. When we were down there, we were all by ourselves. Chances are if there is other people down there, they're other photographers. So go ask them to take a photo for you.
Our next location is Vermillion Lakes, just outside of the town of Banff. This is a great location if you're staying even in the town of Banff to walk to or bike to, because it is that close. But we've never found the road along Vermillion Lakes to be very busy. We've always been able to find parking in one of the few pullouts that are there. This has great views of the lakes. There's some cute little docks there, and in the background are some very iconic mountains in Banff.
Insert name here.
Which I don't know what they're called, admittedly. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's like turtle or tunnel.
My favorite spot at this viewpoint is to get deep in the shrubs, get your camera in and find a good frame that frames whatever this mountain. And if you push the camera through, you get some really good shots in there. And I always like to frame a couple photos inside those bushes as well. Unfortunately for us, when we were there, there was a couple sleeping on the dock, just having a snooze in the middle of the day.
I didn't quite understand, but I was really just jealous of them. It looked very romantic.
I don't get it. But because they were slumbering, we couldn't get any good views of the deck and the mountains and the water and the whole thing. But I guess win some, lose some. Next up is Two Jack Lake, which is only about a 15-minute drive away from Banff. This lake is really small, and we didn't get a lot of time there because we were running out of sunlight. But there are a ton of little trails that you can go and explore and get some good angles and some good viewpoints and get some really creative shots of the lake. But even just on the side that we were on, there's a ton of good views, and there was even a little island that I like to call Mini Spirit Island.
It's not even close to Spirit Island, but
it kind of looks like it.
It saved us the 22-kilometer friggin' paddle to Spirit Island, so we'll take it. There were tons of parking at this lake, and it wasn't nearly as busy as some of the locations we have been to, so this one is great, especially for accessibility.
Man, there's just something about mountains and trees and water and just the whole thing. Nice sky. It's just right there.
Who are you?
It's real good.
A quick little jaunt up the road from Two Jack Lake is Lake Minnewanka.
Isn't that like what every movie is? Like every movie when a kid's going to the lake or going to camp or something, it's always Lake Minnewanka?
It does sound oddly familiar. This lake is huge, and thankfully it has a big parking lot to go with it. Never have I been so appreciative of parking lot space before in my life. It's actually kind of crazy that some of the locations that were closest to the town of Banff were the quietest ones for us to visit.
Yeah, you drive like 4 hours and it's packed. You drive 15 minutes and it's a ghost town.
I don't know what I was really expecting about this lake, but this one was the biggest pleasant surprise to me. I don't know what I was expecting from it, but it's a huge lake. It had lots of boat tours happening. So there were big boats that could be rented. There were some kayaks out there, and there were these cute little red deck chairs out on the end of the dock where you could sit and watch the boats come in with the mountains in the background.
The next photo location is Lake Louise, and this is another place that is uber friggin' packed with tourists. So going back to the first morning when we were at Lake Louise, we left at probably, 10 o'clock or so, and we thought, hey, why don't we stop at Lake Louise, get some photos? Nope. Went to the first parking lot, full. Went to the overflow parking lot, full. Went to the overflow parking lot, full. This place has overflow parking for overflow parking. Like, what? Like, that's incredible. Like, it's so busy. It's unbelievable.
I remember the first time that you and I went to Lake Louise together. We were up for sunrise. We thought we were so eager. We were one of the first people out on the lake, thought we were gonna have it to ourselves. And by the time that the sun was actually coming up, there was just a clear wall of photographers with their tripods surrounding Lake Louise.
Way to kill the romance.
Totally. So the overflow parking, the overflow parking is like a 5-minute drive down the highway from Lake Louise itself. There's a shuttle that takes people to Lake Louise, but the day before when we were at PEYTO Lake, we were driving through Lake Louise past this overflow parking lot, and this was probably the middle of the day, like close to lunchtime, and the lineup to get onto the shuttle from this overflow parking lot was insane. I seriously think that it was going to take them 10 shuttle rides before some of those people were gonna see the front of the lineup. I'm just thankful that they had good weather because it was gonna be a wait. This is definitely a location, if you're planning on visiting, to plan ahead.
So as a pro tip, I would say for sure get there for sunrise, but who knows how far you're coming from. Like, do you really want to risk coming just at sunrise? In our experience, just get up an extra hour early. Get there an hour before sunrise so you make sure you get a spot. You're not disappointed. If you do make it here for sunrise, again, you're sitting there looking at the viewpoint. The sun will come up from your back so you're not burning out your retinas. As soon as the sun hits the tip of the mountains, it'll reveal the bluest water you'll ever see in your whole life. And on the left side, there's a log cabin that you can rent red canoes from. We've never done it. I've always wanted to. Maybe we'll do it next time. But what doesn't get a lot of love, which is on the other side of the log cabin, is Chateau Lake Louise Fairmont Hotel.
Anything with chateau in the name is fancy.
It's true. It's a great place to warm up after you've been waiting for the sun to come up. You can get, I don't know, a $15 coffee or something. Actually, I think that's only on Tuesdays. I think the rest of the day is like $25 coffee.
Like a $50 breakfast buffet. Feeling extra fancy?
Yeah. Finally, our last location is Emerald Lake, and this one is probably the furthest out of the way. Because it's the furthest out of the way, we found that it had the least amount of traffic and least amount of tourists there.
Banff's like magic formula and the theme to every lake we visited was a log cabin, some blue ass water, and a red canoe. It is magic.
While we were there, we didn't even go into the lodge. We just circled the trails that go all the way around it to find some really unique vantage points and some really basic photos like these.
This is only our short list of great photography locations in Banff. Even each one of these locations, I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of. You could spend hours at every single one of them and find new and creative ways. Lots of these places are places that we've been to before, and we could still spend more time out there. It is amazing.
But to be honest, Chelsey and I only spent weekends there, so we try to jam as much as possible into one trip. So we haven't even done any of the crazy hikes that are there, anything. So there's a ton of different spots that you could be checking out. So if you have any other recommendations and we didn't include it in this list, leave it in the comments below and maybe we'll make video number 2, or maybe we'll just steal your location. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the photos you saw in this video, you can follow us on Instagram. If you like this video and want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We post new videos weekly and we'd love to see you next week and the week after that.
We hope that we can help you find your adventure. Bye!